And I'm a representative for the Sierra Club. I want to make 4 points this morning. First, I want to thank Chair Evans and Director Brown for their public service. We've benefited from your expertise and leadership, and I'm hopeful that we'll find you reappointed and keep moving TVA moving in the right direction. Second, I appreciate the board's action to clarify TVA's role in membership organizations like the Utility Air Regulatory Group. I flagged this issue last year, and I'm pleased TVA's resources will no longer support litigation against the federal government. Third, I want to talk about federal clean water protections. In 2015, EPA finalized standards to limit the amount of toxic pollution that coal plants can dump into our rivers and lakes. This coal plant wastewater contains large quantities of mercury, arsenic, and selenium, which are known to cause an array of health problems. But last month, the power plant industry got the Trump EPA to halt these new standards. And that's troubling for several reasons. As you may know, Tennessee is set to renew Clean Water Act permits at 4 TVA coal plants later this year. These permits are supposed to require TVA to comply with these new standards. But TVA is asking Tennessee for the maximum amount of time before it has to start meeting these new standards. At the Cumberland plant, TVA is asking the state to excuse it altogether from complying with the standards limits on selenium. Cumberland was ranked the second largest selenium polluter among coal plants reporting to the Toxic Release Inventory in 2015. Affordable technologies exist today that can eliminate nearly all of this water pollution. Protecting drinking water supplies and places to fish and play is not just a public health issue, it's also an economic issue. Your study just said that TVA's rivers, lakes contribute $12 billion a year to our economy. Please take steps now to keep them safe from water pollution. Finally, I want to talk about the fast-moving progress of clean energy. Our energy landscape is changing. Utilities are using coal a lot less as it becomes more and more uneconomic, and TVA is not immune to this trend. 31 of your 59 coal units have retired or been announced for retirement because it's the cheapest way to serve customers. With coal retiring, state agencies, businesses, and stakeholders are asking how our future energy needs will be managed. Luckily, as coal fades, clean energy opportunities grow. Energy efficiency is still the cheapest resource to meet our energy needs. As for renewables, plummeting costs combined with smart policies make it cheaper for utilities to buy or build new wind or solar than to run existing fossil plants. At my first board meeting 4 years ago, a local power company executive spoke right after me. He called clean energy a fad. Clean energy is not a fad. Residential, commercial, and increasingly industrial customers want clean energy. And right now, I see TVA facing an important opportunity to transition to a cost-effective, lower-emitting, and resilient electricity system. Your deliberations and decisions in the coming weeks and months should say, let's take advantage of this opportunity. Let's continue to capitalize on what we've seen work so far. Let's build an affordable, reliable, and clean energy vision for the Valley. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Trish-Ann Landino. I'm here today for Community Sustainability USA. As always, I appreciate this opportunity for public comment, and I thank you for the valuable time, expertise, and knowledge that you share to benefit all in the Valley. I have a personal story to share with you today. I resigned from Southern Alliance for Clean Energy because I had a core need to work directly with vulnerable people in my community. I'm working with young children at a child development center that serves primarily lower-income African-American children and their families. It happens to be located right at the end of my block. Sadly, and in a kind of twisted way, fortunately, my work there has heightened my commitment to transition the grid from climate change-causing fossil fuels to safe solar, wind, and energy efficiency. Over half of the children at our center suffer from asthma and use inhalers or nebulizers regularly. Every staff member is trained in dealing with asthma episodes. It's devastating seeing anyone, but especially a 1-year-old, struggling to breathe. The nephew of one of the center's directors died from an asthma episode in the past year, and that's one of a number of asthma deaths that community has faced in the past decade. We need to use all of the tools in our collective toolbox to ensure an absolute reduction of carbon dioxide emissions to keep global warming to within 2 degrees centigrade and limit the impacts of climate change. Those impacts disproportionately affect our most vulnerable community members, like the children I'm working with. TVA has reduced carbon emissions by 30% since 2005, primarily by replacing coal plants with gas and nuclear. That reduction is meaningful and deserves recognition. But TVA is still the 6th largest electricity producer in the nation. It is also the 6th largest carbon dioxide emitter among U.S. power producers. If the 7 southeast states in which TVA operates were considered as a single country, that country would be the 6th largest carbon dioxide emitter in the world. So I ask you to be audacious while you can, while you're small and nimble and the federal tax incentives are available. Currently, TVA has only about 400 megawatts of solar contracted or operating. I understand that the first 2,000 megawatts of solar is accretive for TVA. I respectfully ask you to accelerate the retirement of your least economic coal plant and replace it with renewables and energy efficiency investments. Cite the new facilities and investments in the affected community and in underserved communities. Finally, facilitate the critical delivery of 3,500 megawatts of clean energy to the southeast through the Clean Line. Thank you so much for considering my comments today.
Richard Holland, Terry Ledford, Sandra Kurtz, Atwell Daves, Scott Banbury.
I'm Don Safer from Nashville. I serve on the board of the Tennessee Environmental Council and as no nuclear committee chair for the Tennessee chapter of the Sierra Club. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. I urge TVA to abandon its unnecessary small modular reactor project immediately. Nuclear power is neither clean nor green. Stop squandering money and resources on this latest false hope of the DOE and the nuclear industry. The current early site permit application process will likely prove to be an exercise in futility, as renewable energy generation growth will make SMRs unnecessary long before any are built. TVA has abandoned at least 13 nuclear reactors, many after billions were wasted. Much of TVA's $25 billion debt is from these dead-end projects. Please stop wasting ratepayers' money on nuclear energy. The economics of small modular reactors do not make sense even with optimistic pre-construction cost projections. It is impossible to say how much actual spending would exceed these estimates, but it is almost certain to be substantial. Watts Bar 1 and 2 were originally projected to cost under $700 million. They were completed decades later at an acknowledged cost of over $13 billion. Watts Bar 2 is currently inoperable due to a structural failure in a 40-year-old steam condenser. It is unknown when repairs will be completed, but not for months. The once hyped U.S. SMR business is down to one manufacturer with 2 possible customers, TVA and UAMPS, Utah Associated Municipal Power Systems. In 2009, TVA made a great decision when it withdrew from plans to be the first in the U.S. to build the Westinghouse AP1000 reactors. Construction delays and cost overruns have forced Westinghouse into bankruptcy, and the VC Summer and Vogtle reactors may never be finished after billions have been spent. Small modular reactors are too costly, too slow to bring online, too uncertain, and have a high environmental impact and risk. Current national high-level radioactive waste disposal practices would leave this dangerous waste on site for decades or much longer after final reactor shutdown. The future belongs to renewable energy. All trends point in that direction. The global increase in renewables in 2015 was 63 gigawatts of wind, 50 gigawatts of solar, and 28 gigawatts of hydroelectric. Total nuclear capacity is going down. Even France is moving away from nuclear power. TVA should embrace the future and aggressively add renewable generation to speed up the retirement of coal, nuclear, and gas facilities. TVA should partner with the Clean Line project to lock in 2 cents per kilowatt hour electricity now. TVA should embrace all forms of solar energy and energy efficiency. The sooner TVA starts changing course to put renewables first, the smoother the transition will be.
Good morning, faraway board members. I'm Sandy Kurz, speaking here for Blue Ridge Environmental Defense League and its local chapter, Bellefonte Efficiency and Sustainability Teams, and the subset, Mothers Against Tennessee River Radiation. I'm an environmental educator and sit on the Watts Bar 2 Citizen Advisory Panel. I want to emphasize the level of concern over the Watts Bar 2 chilled work environment, as the Nuclear Regulatory Commission called it. When employees are too nervous about losing their jobs if they bring safety concerns to the attention of management, it's a serious issue, especially when any accident could result in radiation releases to the public or radiation exposure to the employees themselves. I know that's being worked on, but it seems to be more widespread than just Watts Bar over the history of all of the TVA nuclear plants. Of course, Watts Bar 2 shutdown is now shut down, not operating, while whatever the problem is can be discovered and solved. This, the latest nuclear reactor to come online after 43 years of planning and paying, has produced less than 6 months of power. Not a good showing for the, well, the $6.1 billion that you say it cost. We think it actually costs more than that. Further, what will you do with the waste and the cost of decommissioning when the time comes for that? Which brings me to renewables. Thank you for considering to continuing to close down your coal power plants and adding to your solar portfolio. I hope you will continue to increase solar capacity as quickly as possible. Perhaps nuclear plant sites could be turned into battery storage units. While we hear Senator Alexander saying wind is not economically wise, using outdated figures, I might add, and the TVA shouldn't be spending money for power that's not needed, it's a bargain compared to nuclear. My suggestion, TVA can need the power sooner, simply close down those old nuclear plants. Watts Bar 2 is not running now, that's one. And I think the second one should be Browns Ferry 1, the one that has had the most accidents. Thank you for listening and considering.
Member with the Tennessee chapter of the Sierra Club, it's really a pleasure to say, Madam Chair, I'm so happy to be here for 2 reasons. Hopefully, this is not the last time I get to say Madam Chair at a TVA board meeting, and hopefully it's not the last time that I've got a Memphian being the chair at a TVA board meeting. So. Madam Chair. I really was coming up here today to talk about issues that we have with coal ash, the TVA's compliance with the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation's order in that regard. But then I got sidetracked this weekend because I was at our wonderful Music in May music festival, standing in front of our Memphis Flyer tent, when I was approached by Mr. Dan Tibbs, the project manager for our new Allen gas plant. We ended up having a lovely conversation for, I think, more than an hour. Some of his friends walked off because I think they got bored by, where we were going. But we found that we had a lot in common, that we both had the same concerns about protecting the quality of our air, protecting the quality of our water. He assured me that he really did do everything that he was able to do under the financial constraints he was under to make use of wastewater to cool that new Allen plant that y'all may be reading a little bit about. But we also agreed that some of these other projects are leading us in the right direction. I mean, TVA putting a megawatt of solar power of their own on their plant is awesome. The recent approval of the project at the Nike facility in Fraser, awesome. The contribution to our energy efficiency, low-income energy efficiency programs in Memphis, awesome. And I thank the TVA for these things. And I hope that we're going to work together well as we move forward across the state in regards to the disposition of the combustion residuals at all of our facilities. In Memphis, I think we're going to see an environmental investigation plan coming out in June. I know that the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation has asked TVA to do some serious geological study there, and I hope you all will agree with that and work with us on that project so we can better understand the threats to our aquifer in that area. Again, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Good morning. My name is Ward Archer, and I'm president of Protect Our Aquifer, which is a citizens group in Memphis and Shelby County. I'd like to say a special thanks to, or hello to Lynn Evans and Ron Walker, who are fellow Memphians, and to Bill Johnson, who I had a chance to meet in Washington, D.C. pretty recently. We have organized to reform the groundwater regulations in Shelby County and to work and encourage TVA to find a cooling water solution for the new Allen plant that doesn't put our drinking water aquifer at risk. We are your biggest customer. We have been your biggest customer for a long time, and we expect for you to respect the sacred Memphis Sands aquifer. We're concerned because when we objected to this change in plans to switch from the gray water to the water from the aquifer, we pretty much got shut down. Even when our top local water scientist, Dr. Brian Waldron, made a comment publicly that it's the worst place in Memphis to build a well. You can't eat fish from McKellar Lake, which is right there. What does that tell you? Beyond that, these wells have been drilled only 1,600 feet from your own active coal ash pond that has no modern protective liner. In fact, I'm not sure it has any liner at all. Why would you take a risk of more coal ash problems? In response to Congressman Cohen's letter of February 1st, where he inquired about this risk of contamination, TVA explained that core samples from all 5 wells indicated that there's a protective layer of clay above each well. But that really only means that there's a protective layer of clay at that one 6x6 or 10x10 plot of land. It doesn't mean that it's consistent across that whole area. It's common knowledge that there are 2 large holes in the clay within a mile of the TVA location. It's also common knowledge that powerful wells like yours will move water underground for miles. A breach under the coal ash ponds could be disastrous. So, and in the same USGS study that was used to prove that there was enough water in the aquifer, there's no data in there about contamination. Contamination wasn't addressed and still hasn't been addressed, and I would like for you to let us know what you're doing to prove to us that you're not going to contaminate our aquifer. Thank you.
Hello this morning. I'm Gary Morgan from Scottsboro, Alabama. Board members, Mr. Johnson, it's always a pleasure to be here to speak to y'all. I'd like to talk to y'all a little bit this morning about the Clinton River project, small modular reactors that you're proposing to build upriver from me, up there around Oak Ridge. And there's 4 important points I'd like to ask you to consider as this project moves along. And of course, it's be up to you to provide approval for final financing of this project. First thing is the geology of the area. If you have not looked at the geology of the area, I would suggest that you do so. They're going to build this plant. The proposal to build this plant is in karst terrain. Karst terrain is essentially porous limestone. There's also mudstone in this area, which is a very brittle rock. But to build an underground facility in karst terrain with sinkholes there on the site, I don't know, I wonder if that's a wise decision to do so. You know, that presents a specific hydrology problem for an underground facility. The second thing is cost. Now the TVA has done a great job in bringing down your long-term bond cost, and you're working on that. You said you're working on it, and it's very obvious you are. To go into another nuclear unit, building another nuclear facility, is going to increase that bond cost. Why not consider combined heat to power? You have an expert sitting right up there on your board, in Dr. Brown, in energy efficiency, renewable energy products, combined heat to power. I mean, if you think about it, why isn't combined heat to power in every heat generating facility you use? What a benefit that would be. It would lower costs for ratepayers, but maybe you really don't want to lower costs for ratepayers. I mean, would that decrease the bonus of your executives to lower costs of the ratepayers? I don't know. But to not expand, utilize the resources you have as far as using the heat you generate as fuel to drive a combined heat to power engine, it just makes sense. You should consider that instead of expanding the nuclear power. The need for power. Do you really have the power? You said you don't have a need for it. So why are you doing this? Which brings up my fourth point. So you're doing it to provide the Department of Energy and its Department of Defense mission power. Well, there's a question there too. Every nuclear power plant within the Tennessee River Valley needs incoming power. So will the SMR as current designs are presented. So you can't have a standalone nuclear generating facility without incoming power. In the need of an emergency, it ain't gonna work. So for these four reasons, I asked the Board of Directors and Mr. Johnson and this executive staff of the TVA to seriously consider not going forward with the SMR. Thank you, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the great employees of the TVA. Y'all keep the power on, and that's greatly appreciated.